I was holding our daughter's birthday card when the hospital called to say my wife was in critical condition with a man who wasn't me. Purple crayon covered the front. Mia had drawn 4 stick figures holding hands under a sun with eyelashes. She'd labeled them in her 7-year-old handwriting, Mom, Dad, me, Jake. Below that, in letters she'd traced over 3 times to make them darker, Our family forever. The phone was still against my ear. The nurse was saying something about emergency contact and next of kin. I was looking at those 4 figures. 4. Mr. Mitchell, are you still there? Yes. My voice came out steady. I don't know how. What hospital? Mercy General. Your wife was brought in by helicopter about 40 minutes ago. There was a hiking accident. She's stable now, but she's asking for you. Hiking. Rachel hated hiking. She'd told me she was going to a work conference in Portland. I dropped her off at the airport myself yesterday morning. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up, looked at the card again. Mia had used glitter glue for the sun. It caught the kitchen light. Her birthday was tomorrow. She'd turn 8. Rachel had promised to be home tonight to help decorate. The card felt heavier than it should. I set it on the counter, grabbed my keys, and drove to the hospital like a man underwater, moving through motions I couldn't quite feel. Every turn signal, every brake at red lights, everything normal on the surface, everything shattered underneath. How do you choose yourself when the world expects you to save someone who destroyed you? I didn't have an answer yet, but I was about to learn. The ER waiting room smelled like antiseptic mixed with cafeteria coffee, the smell of waiting for bad news. I approached the desk, gave Rachel's name. The receptionist smiled with practiced sympathy. Room 447, 4th floor. But sir, I should mention your wife's companion is in the other wing if you'd like his room number as well. He was admitted with minor injuries. Companion. I nodded like I understood, like this was information I already had. What's his name? She checked her screen. Marcus Holloway, room 382. Thank you. I walked toward the elevators, past the coffee kiosk, saw a man about my age sitting in the corner, leg in a walking boot, scrolling his phone. He had that look, expensive haircut, gym membership tan, the kind of watch you only buy to be noticed. His phone was face up on the armrest. The lock screen showed a photo. A woman laughing at a restaurant table, wearing the necklace I thought Rachel bought for herself last Christmas. I kept walking, found the elevator, pressed 4. The doors closed. I leaned against the wall, took a breath, another. Some people fall apart. I've never been one of them. My father taught me that. When everything goes wrong, he used to say, you get quiet, you watch, you wait, and then you act. The elevator opened. I turned left toward 447. Rachel was awake when I walked in, hair matted with dried blood, left arm in a sling, face scraped but somehow still composed. She saw me and her eyes filled with tears, the kind that come easy when you need them to. David, oh God, David, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to. What happened? My voice was flat, not angry, not worried, just factual. She blinked, recalibrated. We were hiking. He's a colleague from the Portland office. We were on this trail and I slipped and Marcus Holloway. She stopped. Yes, how did you? The nurse told me. He's downstairs. I pulled the visitor chair closer, sat down. Portland office. David, I know this looks... How long have you been hiking with Marcus from the Portland office? The question hung there. She opened her mouth, closed it. I watched her decide which version of the truth to try first. It's not what you think. What do I think, Rachel? I can explain everything, but right now I just need... There's something the hospital needs you to sign. The medical bills. Insurance isn't covering everything because it was adventure sports, and our plan has that exclusion. They need your signature on the financial responsibility forms. It's just temporary until we figure out. I let her talk, watched her hands. She was twisting the edge of the hospital blanket, the same tell she had when Jake asked if Santa was real, and she didn't want to lie, but couldn't tell the truth. A nurse came in with a clipboard. "Mr. Mitchell, if you could just sign here, and initial here. It's standard for spouse-authorized medical expenses." She held out a pen. Rachel reached for my hand across the bed rail. "I knew you'd come through for us, David. I told them you would. We're a team. We always have been. Us, we, team." I looked at the forms. $47,293, itemized across 3 pages. Emergency helicopter transport, trauma assessment, CT scans, orthopedic consult. I set the clipboard on the bedside tray, didn't touch the pen. "I'll need to review these with my attorney first." Rachel's face changed. Not much, but enough. "Your attorney? David, what are you? I'm your wife. I'm hurt. Why would you need I'll have someone from my office call you tomorrow." I stood up. "I'm glad you're going to be okay, Rachel." "David, wait, please. Don't leave like this. We need to talk. Really talk. About everything. I know I should have been honest about Portland, about Marcus, but it's not what it looks like, and if you just..." I was already at the door. "The kids are waiting. I told them you had a work emergency. Mia made you a card for her birthday. I'll make sure she knows you're thinking of her." I walked out. Behind me, I heard her call my name. Once, then silence. In the elevator going down, I pulled out my phone, called Tom. He answered on the second ring. "Hey man, what's up?" "I need a lawyer, family law, tonight if possible." "What happened?" "Rachel's in the hospital with someone named Marcus. I just got asked to sign a $47,000 medical bill for a hiking trip she told me was a work conference." Silence. Then, "Don't sign anything. Where are you?" "Mercy General, heading to my car." "I'm calling Jennifer Hartwell right now. She's the best. Meet me at her office in an hour. David..." "Yeah." "Document. Everything. Now." I hung up. Stood in the parking lot under the orange lights. Felt my phone vibrate with a text. "Rachel, please come back. I love you. We can fix this." I opened my camera, went back inside. Found Marcus in room 382. He was asleep. His phone was on the side table, still unlocked from whatever he'd been scrolling. Same lock screen photo. Rachel in a red dress. His arm around her waist. The date stamp in the corner, September 16th. Jake's appendix surgery was September 18th. I remembered because I'd called Rachel in a panic, telling her Jake was being rushed into emergency surgery, begging her to come home from her conference. She said she was in meetings all day but would try to make it. She arrived the next morning, exhausted, saying the flights were all delayed. September 16th. 2 days before, our son went under anesthesia alone while I held his hand and lied that mommy was on her way. I took 3 photos of Marcus's phone screen, zoomed in on the date. Then I walked back to my car and started a voice memo. "This is David Mitchell. Wednesday, November 19th, 9:47 p.m. I received a call at approximately 7:15 p.m. that my wife, Rachel Mitchell, was at Mercy General after a hiking accident with a man named Marcus Holloway. She told me she was in Portland for work. She asked me to sign medical bills totaling $47,293. I declined. I discovered she's been in a relationship with Marcus. Evidence includes photos on his phone dated during our son's medical emergency. I'm documenting this because Tom said to document everything. And because..." I stopped, sat there with the phone recording silence, the parking lot, the hospital lights, the sound of my own breathing. Because some things you can't unsee. You can only decide what to do with what you know. I ended the recording, started the car, drove home to my kids. If you've ever felt the ground disappear beneath you, where reality splits in half, and you have to keep walking anyway, type "I understand" below. You're not alone in this. The house was too quiet. Mom, Barbara, she'd been watching the kids, met me at the door. One look at my face and she knew not to ask questions yet. They're upstairs. Jake's reading. Mia's finishing her birthday decorations. Thanks for staying. David. She put her hand on my arm. Whatever it is, we handle it together. You're not alone. I nodded, couldn't speak yet. She squeezed my arm and left. I stood in the kitchen. Mia's card was still on the counter. 4 stick figures. Our family forever. Upstairs, I heard Jake's door open, his footsteps on the landing. He was 10, old enough to sense when something was breaking. He appeared at the top of the stairs. Is Mom okay? She's going to be fine. She had an accident, but the doctors took good care of her. He came down slowly, stood in front of me. Why are you home and she's not? She needs to stay overnight for observation. She'll call you tomorrow. Dad. He looked at me with his mother's eyes, clear, direct. Are you okay? That's when I felt it. The crack. Not in my marriage. That was already shattered. In my chest. Where I kept the part of me that protected them from everything. I will be. Come here. He let me hug him, tall enough now that his head reached my shoulder. I remembered when he fit in one arm. Is it bad? He whispered. Some of it, but not the part that matters. You and Mia, you're the part that matters, and that part's not going anywhere. He pulled back, looked at me. Promise? Promise. Mia called from her room. Daddy, is that you? Coming, baby. Her room looked like a purple crayon factory exploded. Streamers, balloons. A banner she'd made from printer paper taped together, MIA's birthday party. Mommy said she'd be home tonight to help me finish decorating. Where is she? I sat on her bed. She climbed into my lap like she used to when she was smaller. Still would, sometimes when the world felt too big. Mommy had an accident today. She's okay, but she has to stay at the hospital tonight. She wanted me to tell you she loves you and she's thinking about your birthday. Is she going to miss it? Her voice got smaller. Tomorrow? I felt something in me shift, a decision made without words. I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise you're going to have the best birthday ever, even if things are different than we planned. Different how? Different like sometimes plans change and we figure out new plans, better plans. She was quiet. Then, can Jake help me finish decorating? Absolutely. She slid off my lap, ran to the door. Jake, I need your help. I heard them in the hallway, their voices, their footsteps, the sound of siblings who still liked each other, who didn't know yet that the family they drew in crayon was already different than they thought. I picked up a piece of construction paper from her desk. She'd been writing something. I recognized her careful printing. Things I love about my family. We always eat dinner together. Mom and Dad never fight. Jake lets me play his video games sometimes. We go to the beach every summer. Mom says we're a team, and teams don't quit on each other. Number 5, written in purple marker, traced over twice to make it darker, just like the letters on the card downstairs. Teams don't quit on each other. I set it down, went to Jake's room. He was sitting at his desk, writing in the journal I'd bought him last Christmas. He closed it when I came in, but not fast enough. I'd seen the page title, Things That Don't Make Sense. Can I ask you something? He didn't look at me. Always. Mom's been different lately, happier, I guess. She's been on her phone more, going out more. Last week I heard her tell someone she couldn't wait for our next adventure. I thought she meant family stuff, but today when you said she was hiking, Mom hates hiking. She told me that when we went to Yellowstone last year. He turned around. So I guess my question is, are you going to leave us like Mom is? The room went silent. No, not silent. I could hear everything. The heater clicking on, a car passing outside, my son's breathing, the sound of a child asking the question I'd hoped would take years to form. I knelt down in front of his chair, looked at him straight on. Jake, listen to me. I will never leave you. Not ever. Some people break promises. I'm not one of them. Your mom, whatever's happening with your mom, that's between her and me. But you and Mia, you're stuck with me, buddy. Forever. Do you understand? His eyes filled. He nodded. I pulled him into my arms and felt him shake. I don't want things to change, he whispered. I know. But here's the thing about change. Sometimes it shows us what was real all along. And you and me and Mia, we're real. That doesn't change. Ever. We stayed like that until he stopped shaking. Until Mia called for him again and he wiped his eyes and went to help his sister hang streamers for a birthday their mother might not attend. I stood in his doorway, watched them together. My phone buzzed. Text from Tom. Jennifer can see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring every document you have. Bank statements, credit cards, phone bills, everything. She said not to worry. We're going to handle this. I texted back, thank you. Then I opened my photos, looked at the picture of Marcus's phone screen again. Rachel in a red dress, his arm around her, both of them smiling like people who'd forgotten they were stealing from someone else's life. September 16th, Jake was in surgery. September 18th. I'd called her 13 times. She'd answered twice. Both times she'd sounded irritated that I was panicking over nothing. He could have died. Our son could have died from a ruptured appendix, and she'd been 287 miles away at a resort spa with a man I'd never met, wearing a dress I'd never seen, smiling at a camera while I held Jake's hand and promised him Mommy was on her way. I saved the photo, started a new album on my phone, titled it Evidence, downloaded our bank statements from the last 2 years, our credit card records, the shared calendar Rachel insisted we use to stay coordinated as a family. It was 11:47 p.m. My kids were finally asleep. The house was quiet again. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started looking. 2 hours later, I had 97 entries that didn't make sense. Charges at hotels we'd never visited. Venmo payments to Marcus. Small ones, like someone trying not to be obvious. $40 here, $60 there, each one with a little inside joke caption, best afternoon yet, and round 2, and can't wait for next month. A shared Google Calendar I'd never been invited to, just Rachel and Marcus, titled Adventures, color-coded, detailed, stretching back 18 months. The jewelry store receipt from December 4th, $200. My father's funeral had been December 2nd. I remembered because Rachel wore a new necklace to the wake. When I'd asked about it, she said her mother had given it to her as a comfort gift. She'd worn my grief to her throat like an ornament. I kept scrolling. Each entry was a little betrayal, each one a choice she'd made. By 2 a.m., I'd filled a folder with screenshots, printed documents, highlighted statements. By 3 a.m., I'd organized it all by date. By 4 a.m., I'd made a timeline. By 5 a.m., when the first light came through the kitchen window, I sat back and looked at what I'd built. Evidence, clear, irrefutable, dated, stamped, saved. Tom was right. You can't fight emotion with emotion. You fight it with facts, with paper, with proof. I heard Mia's feet on the stairs. She appeared in her nightgown, holding her stuffed rabbit. Is it my birthday yet? Almost, baby. 1 more hour. Can we make pancakes, the special ones with chocolate chips? Absolutely. She climbed into my lap, laid her head on my chest. Daddy? Yeah? Are you sad? I held her tighter. A little bit, but not about you. Never about you. Okay. She yawned. Will Mommy call today? I think so. Good, because I made her a card too. It has all of us on it. Our family, forever and ever. Forever and ever. She fell back asleep in my arms. I sat there holding her as the sun came up, holding her like I could keep her safe from what was coming just by not letting go. But the truth was already here. It had been here for 18 months. I just hadn't seen it yet. Now I couldn't unsee it. And that changed everything. Jennifer Hartwell's office had that particular smell of expensive legal services, leather chairs, and filtered coffee. She was younger than I expected, sharp, the kind of person who smiled like she'd already won. Tom's told me the basics. Walk me through yesterday. Everything. I did. The hospital call, Marcus in the waiting room, the medical bill, Rachel's assumption I'd sign, the photos on Marcus's phone, the timeline I'd built through the night. She listened without interrupting, took notes in perfect shorthand. When I finished, she slid a yellow legal pad across the desk. Write down every password you have, bank accounts, credit cards, email, phone, anything joint or in your name. We need full access before she changes anything. She doesn't know I'm here. She will soon. People like Rachel, when they realize their plan isn't working, they accelerate. She'll either love bomb you back into submission or go nuclear. Either way, we need to be 3 steps ahead. I wrote down everything. She copied it, handed me back the original. Now, I need you to understand something. This isn't about winning or losing. This is about protecting yourself and your children from someone who's already shown you exactly who she is. Can you do that? Can you stop hoping she'll become someone different? I thought about Mia's card, Jake's journal, the 18 months of lies. Yes. Good, because here's what we're going to do. She outlined the strategy: forensic accountant to trace financial infidelity, private investigator to document the affair timeline, custody evaluation to establish my role as primary caregiver, immediate separation of finances, filing for divorce within the week. But first, she pulled a folder from her desk drawer. Tom's PI contact did some preliminary work last night. You should see this. She opened the folder. Printouts of hotel registrations, credit card statements I'd never seen, a phone bill for a number I didn't recognize. This is your wife's second phone bill. I stared at it, a separate line in her name. Paid from an account I'd never known existed. 18 months of calls, text messages, data usage, all to one number. Marcus. How did you... Tom's friend is very good at his job, and Rachel wasn't as careful as she thought. Jennifer leaned forward. Mr. Mitchell, David, the average affair lasts 6 months, maybe a year. This is a parallel life. She's been planning something. We just need to figure out what. My phone rang. Rachel, I showed Jennifer. Don't answer yet. Let me set up the recording app. She did something with my phone, handed it back. Now you can answer. Stay calm. Don't accuse. Just listen and document. I answered, put it on speaker. David, oh, thank God. I've been calling since 6 this morning. Why haven't you... I was with the kids. It's Mia's birthday. Silence. Then, oh God. I forgot. Is she... Can I talk to her, please? She's at school. I'll have her call you tonight. David, we need to talk. Really talk. Can you come to the hospital? I'm being discharged this afternoon and I need... Marcus can't pick me up because his car got towed from the trailhead and I don't have anyone else. And ask Marcus to call an Uber. David. I'm not coming to get you, Rachel. Her voice changed, hardened. Fine, then I'll get myself home. And when I do, we're going to sit down and you're going to listen to me explain. You don't need to explain. I saw the photos on Marcus's phone. I found the calendar, the hotel receipts, the jewelry store charge from Dad's funeral. You wore that necklace to his wake, Rachel. You wore the evidence of your affair to my father's funeral. Long silence, then quietly, you went through my things. Your things, they're in my phone, my accounts, my name on the bills you ran up with. If you love me, you'd understand. If you actually paid attention to me instead of always working, always tired, always... I was at Jake's surgery, alone, while you were 287 miles away with Marcus. I heard her breath catch. September 16th, you told me you were in meetings. You sent me one text that entire day. Stop panicking. Kids get appendicitis all the time. I saved it, along with everything else. David... You'll hear from my attorney. I hung up, sat there, felt nothing and everything simultaneously. Jennifer made a note. Good, clean, factual. The recording saved. She looked up. How do you feel? Like I've been holding my breath for 18 months and just now realized it. That's clarity. Hold on to it. You're going to need it. Rachel came home 3 days later. I'd changed the locks, left her things on the porch in sealed boxes. She called from the driveway. David, let me in. This is my house too. I opened the door, didn't invite her in. The kids were at my mom's. She looked smaller without her confidence, the sling, the bruises fading to yellow, but her eyes still had that edge, the one that said she was 3 moves ahead. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Everything goes through Jennifer now. Jennifer. You hired Jennifer Hartwell? David, she's a shark. She destroys families. Is that what you want? To destroy us? You already did that. No, I made mistakes. I was lonely. You were always gone and you needed Marcus while Jake was in surgery. She flinched. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair is the $47,000 medical bill you wanted me to sign. Fair is the second phone I didn't know about. Fair is the savings account you drained. Should I keep going? I haven't drained. What are you talking about? The $23,000 that disappeared from our joint savings last October. The home equity loan you took out in February. The credit cards in my name that I never opened. The forensic accountant found all of it, Rachel. Every transaction, every forged signature, every lie. Her face went pale. You hired a forensic... David, that's insane. That's paranoid. I can explain all of that. The loan was for... We needed... Stop. She stopped. I'm done listening to explanations that are just more lies. You have 2 choices. Sign the divorce papers Jennifer's sending over, agree to fair custody, or we go to court and a judge sees everything. The affair, the financial fraud, the fact that you weren't there when your son needed you. Choose. You're bluffing. You'd never do that to the kids. Drag them through... I'm not dragging them through anything. You already did. A car pulled into the driveway behind her. Marcus, in a BMW I'd apparently helped pay for with the $3,200 Rolex she'd bought him on marital funds. He got out, saw me, had the audacity to wave. Rachel, you ready? I got us a table at... Oh. He registered my expression. This must be David. Hey man, look, I know this is awkward, but if we could all just get off my property. Dude, I'm just trying to get off my property. Or I call the police for trespassing. Rachel grabbed her boxes. Fine. We're leaving. But this isn't over, David. You can't just... You're not the victim here. You're the one who gave up. You're the one who stopped trying. And when this goes to court, when the judge hears how controlling you were, how you never let me have my own life, we'll see who gets custody then. She got in Marcus's car. They drove away. I stood there on my own porch, my own house, wondering how many times she'd brought him here when I was at work, how many lies she'd told in this driveway. My phone buzzed, text from an unknown number with a video attachment. I opened it, my doorbell camera footage from this morning, Rachel and Marcus, pulling up while I was getting the kids ready for school, sitting in the car, her on the phone, to me, pretending to call from the hospital, him laughing while she practiced her victim voice. The text, thought you might want this. Tom. I saved it to the evidence folder, number 43. No yelling, no begging. Just, you'll hear from my attorney. Comment evidence if you do what I did next. The PI's name was Richard, former police detective, the kind of man who noticed everything and showed emotion about nothing. He laid out printed surveillance photos on Jennifer's conference table like a hand of cards. Your wife and Marcus Holloway, 18 months, 3 hotels they frequent. Always the same weekend pattern. She tells you work conference, he calls in sick, they drive separately and meet. Very consistent. Stupid, but consistent. He pointed to a photo. Rachel and Marcus at a resort entrance, date stamp, September 16th. This is Cascade Mountain Lodge, 218 miles from your home. 4-star resort. Couples spa packages. They checked in Friday afternoon, checked out Sunday evening. He pulled out another photo. Same location, same weekend. Timestamp Saturday, September 17th, 2:47 p.m. Rachel in a white spa robe. Marcus behind her. Both of them in matching slippers with the resort logo. Both of them smiling at whoever was taking the photo, probably another guest, asked to capture their romantic weekend. Your son's surgery was Saturday the 18th. This photo is 24 hours before that. They were already there. I couldn't speak. Jennifer took over. Richard, the phone records, show him. He pulled out a spreadsheet. Red highlighting covered most of the page. September 18th, your number called hers 13 times between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. She answered twice. Both calls lasted under 90 seconds. During that window, she called Marcus 7 times. Longest call, 43 minutes. Right after you called to say Jake was going into surgery. He pointed to the call log timestamp. She called him at 7:23 a.m. That's 8 minutes after you called her in a panic. The call lasted until 8:06 a.m. Your son was in pre-op. She was on the phone with her boyfriend. What were they talking about? My voice sounded far away. We don't have the content, just the metadata. But context suggests she was choosing, in real time, whether to come home or stay with him. She stayed. She stayed. Richard gathered the photos. Mr. Mitchell, I've worked these cases for 15 years. Most affairs are messy, impulsive. This was calculated. She's been building an exit strategy. The separate phone, the hidden money, the controlled narrative where you're the bad husband and she's the misunderstood wife. She's been planning to leave. She just wanted to make sure she got paid to do it. Jennifer added, and the medical bill? That was a test. She wanted to see if you'd sign, if you'd take financial responsibility for her choices. It would have established a pattern for the divorce. You pay, she walks. I stared at the photo. Rachel in the spa robe, happy, relaxed, while Jake was terrified. I'd held his hand in pre-op, promised him mom was coming, lied to my son because I believed her lie. And the whole time, she was 287 miles away in a bathrobe with a man I'd never met, deciding whether her child's emergency was worth interrupting her vacation. Something broke in me then, not loud, not dramatic, just a clean snap, like a branch that's been bending too long, finally letting go. What do I do now? We document everything. We file for full custody with her affair and abandonment as grounds. We let the evidence speak. Jennifer slid a folder toward me. But David, there's more. The forensic accountant found something. What? Your wife didn't just drain savings. She took out a home equity loan against your house, $85,000, forged your signature. The money went into an LLC registered to Marcus, called Freedom Adventures. She showed me the document, my signature, except it wasn't my signature. Close. But the loop on the D was wrong, too round. I always made it angular. She's been funneling your money to her boyfriend's business, using your credit, your assets, building a future with him on your back. Can we stop it? We already did. Filed an emergency motion this morning. Judge froze all joint accounts. But David, the damage is done. She spent it. The LLC shows expenses for vacation planning, equipment purchases, website development. They're planning to start an adventure tour company together. That's what the hiking trip was. They were scouting locations. I sat back, looked at the ceiling, tried to find something to hold on to. Some part of this that made sense. She was scouting locations for her new business with her boyfriend while my son was in surgery. Yes. And she wanted me to pay her medical bills from that trip. Yes. And if I had signed, it would have established you as financially responsible for her life choices. Made the divorce settlement heavily in her favor. Yes. I laughed. Couldn't help it. The kind of laugh that comes when absurdity becomes so complete it circles back to comedy. She's good. I'll give her that. She's really good. She's practiced, Richard said. I ran her background. She did this before. Different city, different husband, got out with the house in full custody, guy's still paying alimony. The room went silent. What did you say? Your wife's been married before, 10 years ago, before she met you. She never changed her name back, so it doesn't show up in basic searches. But court records are public if you know where to look. He pulled out another folder. Meet Rachel Patterson, formerly Rachel Donnelly. Divorced Andrew Patterson in 2014. Cited his emotional abuse and controlling behavior. Judge awarded her the marital home and $2,000 monthly alimony. Andrew paid for 3 years until he proved she'd been lying. By then, she'd already moved, changed cities, started over. She told me she'd never been married. I know, I read your marriage license application. She checked single. That's fraud. It's a lot of things, Jennifer said quietly. But mostly it's a pattern, and patterns help us in court. I looked at the photos again. Rachel smiling in her spa robe. Rachel with Marcus at resort dinners. Rachel living a completely separate life while I raised our children and paid our bills and believed every word she said. My phone rang. Mom. I stepped into the hallway to answer. David, the school called. Jake's in the counselor's office. He's upset. Can you come? What happened? He won't say, but he asked for you. Only you. I'm on my way. Jake was sitting in the counselor's office when I arrived. Mrs. Patterson, no relation, looked concerned. Mr. Mitchell, Jake had a difficult morning. He got into an argument with another student, said some things about his mother that worried his teacher. Can I talk to him alone? Of course. She left. I sat down next to Jake. He was staring at his shoes. Buddy, what happened? Tommy said his mom is taking him to Disneyland for Thanksgiving. He was bragging about it. And I said my mom was supposed to be home for Mia's birthday, but she wasn't because she was with someone else. And then I said she was a liar. And then Tommy said I was lying, and I pushed him. His voice cracked. I pushed him, Dad. I've never pushed anyone. It's okay. We'll apologize to Tommy. But Jake, why didn't you tell me you knew? I didn't want to make you sadder. You've been sad since the hospital, and last night I heard you on the phone with Grandma. You said Mom was with Marcus when I was sick, when I had my surgery. I remember that day. I remember you calling her and crying. You never cry. And she said she'd come, but she didn't, not until the next day. And I thought it was because she couldn't. But she could. She just didn't want to. Tears rolled down his face. Why didn't she want to? I pulled him close. Oh, Jake. Buddy, that's not about you. That's about her. Sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, that hurt people they love. Not because those people deserve it, but because the adult is broken in a way that makes them hurt people. Is Mom broken? I think she's confused about what matters, and that's sad for her. But it doesn't change what I told you before. You and Mia, you matter. You matter so much. And I will never, ever miss the moments that matter. Not for anything. Do you believe me? He nodded against my chest. I believe you. But Dad? Yeah. Are you going to leave us like Mom is? There it was again. The question underneath the question. The fear bigger than divorce or custody or any of the legal words adults use to describe children's nightmares. I knelt down in front of him, held his face in my hands. Jake Mitchell, look at me. I will never leave you. Not ever. Some people break promises. I'm not one of them. Your mom, whatever happens with your mom, that's between her and me. But you? You're stuck with me, buddy. Forever. Through every surgery, every birthday, every hard day, every good day, all of it, I'm here. I will always be here. Do you understand? He wrapped his arms around my neck and cried like he'd been holding it in for weeks. Maybe he had been. Maybe he'd known longer than I thought. We sat there on the counselor's floor until he stopped shaking, until his breathing evened out, until he wiped his eyes and said, "Can we go get Mia and go home?" "Yeah, let's go home." In the car, he was quiet. Then, "Dad, I wrote something in my journal I want to show you. Is that okay?" "Always okay." At home, he brought me his journal, opened to a page dated 3 days ago. Things I know are true. Mom lied about where she was. Dad never lies. Sometimes families break, but the good parts don't. I'm scared. But Dad said he's not leaving. I believe him. I read it twice. He watched me. Is that right? Are the good parts still good even if the family breaks? Yeah, Jake. The good parts are always good. And you and me and Mia, we're the best parts. Nothing changes that. Okay? He took the journal back. I'm going to keep writing. Mrs. Patterson said it helps to write true things when everything feels like lies. She's right. He went to his room. I sat at the kitchen table, felt my phone buzz. Text from Jennifer. Financial forensics complete. Total marital funds she diverted, $127,000. Home equity loan, credit cards, separate accounts. Judge granted full reimbursement. Emergency hearing tomorrow. Bring everything. Another text from Richard. More surveillance from today. She tried to follow you to the school. Marcus drove. Sending footage. And one from Rachel. Please. Can we just talk? Just you and me? I'll explain everything. I love you. We can fix this if you just listen. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I went upstairs, knocked on Mia's door. She was coloring. Daddy, look, I'm making a new family picture. This one has Grandma in it, and Uncle Tom, and Jake, and you, and me. 5 people, not 4. That's beautiful, baby. Where should I put Mommy? I sat down next to her. Where do you want to put her? She thought about it. Can she be on the side, like she's visiting, because she's not here very much anymore? Sure, sweetheart. You draw it however feels right to you. She nodded, went back to coloring. 5 people holding hands. Rachel on the edge. Not quite touching. I took a photo of it, saved it to evidence. Number 47. Here's the question I had to answer, and maybe you do too. Do you hold the boundary or extend forgiveness when someone shows you exactly who they are? Comment boundaries or forgiveness. There's no wrong answer, just your answer. The deposition room was smaller than I expected. Beige walls, long table, court reporter in the corner with her machine. Rachel sat across from me with her attorney, a man named Charles who looked like he billed $500 an hour to make people cry on the stand. Jennifer sat next to me, calm, ready. Charles started with the easy questions, full name, address, employment history. Rachel answered smoothly, confidently, like she'd practiced. Then Jennifer took over. Mrs. Mitchell, you stated you were at a work conference in Portland on November 17th through 19th. Is that correct? Yes. And you've claimed your relationship with Marcus Holloway is purely professional, correct? Correct. He's a colleague. I'm going to stop you there. Jennifer slid a photo across the table. This is you and Mr. Holloway at Cascade Mountain Lodge. September 16th, the resort is 287 miles from Portland. Can you explain? Rachel glanced at the photo, barely. That was a team-building retreat. In matching spa robes? It was a wellness-focused retreat. I see. And this? Jennifer placed another photo. Same weekend, September 17th at 2:47 p.m. You're both in couples massage robes. The resort's website lists this as their romance package. Is team building usually romantic? That's taken out of context. Let's provide context then. Jennifer opened a folder. Phone records, September 18th. You received 13 calls from your husband between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Your son was having emergency surgery for a ruptured appendix. You answered 2 of those calls, both under 90 seconds. Is that accurate? Rachel shifted. David tends to panic. Jake was fine. Jake was in surgery for 3 hours. Your husband was alone with your terrified 10-year-old. You texted him once that day. Would you like me to read it? Silence. Jennifer read anyway. Stop panicking. Kids get appendicitis all the time. That was your response to your husband's fear that your son might die. I didn't think. You didn't think, correct? Because during those 13 calls, you were on the phone with Marcus 7 times. 43 minutes, 19 minutes, 31 minutes. While your son was in surgery, you were talking to your boyfriend. Charles interrupted. Objection. Inflammatory. It's a deposition, not a trial, Jennifer said smoothly. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm just trying to understand your priorities that day. Rachel's face had gone pale. I made a mistake. I should have come home sooner. You came home the next day. Why not immediately? The flights were... There were 6 flights from that region to your city that day. I have the schedules. 3 of them had availability. You didn't book any of them. Why? 34 seconds of silence. The court reporter kept typing the silence, marking it, recording that Rachel Mitchell had no answer. Jennifer continued. Let's move to finances. Are you aware of a home equity loan taken out in February of this year? Yes, David and I discussed. This is your signature? Jennifer slid the document across. Yes. And this is your husband's? Rachel looked longer. Yes? You're not sure? It looks like his signature. Mrs. Mitchell, we had a handwriting expert analyze this signature. It's a forgery, a good one. But the loop on the D is wrong. The pressure points are consistent with your handwriting, not your husband's. Did you forge David Mitchell's signature on an $85,000 loan? No. The money from that loan went to an LLC called Freedom Adventures, registered to Marcus Holloway. Were you aware of that? Rachel was shaking now. I don't. That's not... You and Marcus were planning to leave, weren't you? Start a business together. The hiking trip where you got hurt, that was reconnaissance for your adventure tour company. You were leaving your family, and you wanted David to finance it. No? We have text messages recovered from your second phone, the one David didn't know about. Would you like me to read them? Charles put his hand on Rachel's arm. My client invokes her Fifth Amendment right. This isn't a criminal proceeding, Jennifer interrupted. Yeah, but insurance fraud, forgery, and marital fund diversion can become criminal very quickly. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm offering you a chance to tell your version, because the evidence tells a very clear story. Rachel looked at me for the first time. David, please, tell her this is insane. Tell her we can work this out. I said nothing, no anger, no tears, just facts. She broke. Fine. Yes, Marcus and I are together. Yes, we were planning something, but you don't understand what it's like being married to someone who's never there, who works all the time, who doesn't see you. I was invisible, David. For years, I was invisible. So you stole $127,000 and abandoned your son during a medical emergency to be seen by someone else. Her attorney winced. Jennifer smiled. I think we have what we need, Jennifer said. Mrs. Mitchell, you'll receive the full transcript in a week. I suggest you review it carefully before we see you in court. We stood. Rachel grabbed my arm as I passed. David, don't do this. Think about the kids. Think about what this will do to them. I looked at her hand on my arm. She let go. I am thinking about the kids. That's all I've been thinking about. I walked out. The custody hearing was 3 weeks later. Judge Anderson was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She'd reviewed everything. Jennifer told me that was good. Judges who read the files asked better questions. Rachel's attorney tried character assassination first, painted me as controlling, emotionally unavailable, a workaholic who neglected his family. Then our side presented. Jennifer called Dr. Linda Morrison, the children's therapist I'd been taking Jake and Mia to since the separation. She took the stand. I've been seeing Jake and Mia Mitchell for 8 weeks. Both children have expressed consistent relief that their father is their primary caregiver. Mia told me, she checked her notes, Daddy is always home now. He doesn't miss things anymore. Jake told me he feels safer with his father because Dad keeps his promises. And regarding their mother, both children expressed confusion about her absence. Mia asked me if it was her fault Mommy left. Jake asked if adults can love you and leave you at the same time. These are children processing abandonment. Has Rachel Mitchell attended any therapy sessions? She was invited to 6 family sessions. She attended 0. She canceled each time within hours of the appointment. Charles tried to recover. Dr. Morrison, isn't it possible the children are simply echoing their father's narrative that he's influencing? No. Children this age are remarkably honest. They'll protect a parent they love, even an absent one. But both Jake and Mia have independently expressed the same themes. Dad is present. Dad is reliable. Dad makes them feel safe. That's not coaching. That's experience. Jennifer called me next. I told the truth. The whole truth. The hospital call, the surgery, the 18 months of lies, the forged loan, the fact that I'd been functioning as a single parent for years without knowing it. Mr. Mitchell, what do you want for your children? I want them to grow up knowing what real love looks like. Not perfect love, real love. The kind that shows up, that keeps promises, that says, I'm here and means it. I want them to know they're worth that because they are. And regarding their mother, I want them to have a relationship with her if she can show up consistently, if she can put them first. But I won't let them wonder if they're important enough to be chosen. They've done enough of that. Rachel testified last. She cried, talked about postpartum depression that never got treated, loneliness, feeling trapped. She made it sound almost sympathetic until Jennifer cross-examined. Mrs. Mitchell, your youngest child is 7. Are you claiming postpartum depression lasting 7 years? It was. I never got help. You had time for an 18-month affair, hotel stays, spa weekends. You couldn't find time for therapy? That's not fair. Fair? You want to discuss fair? You weren't present for your son's emergency surgery. You forged your husband's signature. You drained marital assets for your boyfriend's business, and now you want this court to believe you're the victim. Tell me, where were you on Mia's 8th birthday? Rachel went silent. Mrs. Mitchell, your daughter's birthday, November 20th, 3 weeks ago. Where were you? I called her. You called. For how long? Maybe 5 minutes? 3 minutes and 47 seconds. I have the phone record. You called your daughter on her birthday for less than 4 minutes. Your husband threw her a party, 20 kids, homemade cake, a treasure hunt in the backyard. He documented it, photos, video. Would you like to see? Jennifer pulled out a tablet, showed the judge. I couldn't see it from where I sat, but I knew what it showed. Mia blowing out candles, surrounded by friends, smiling. But there was a moment right before the wish where she looked at the door, waiting, hoping her mother never came. Judge Anderson took off her glasses. I've reviewed the parenting evaluations, the therapy notes, the financial records, the evidence of infidelity and abandonment. Mrs. Mitchell, you were not where you claimed to be, repeatedly. And when your children needed you, you chose to be elsewhere. That's not postpartum depression. That's a pattern of selfish behavior. She signed a document. Primary physical custody is awarded to David Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell will have supervised visitation 2 Sundays per month, 4 hours each, contingent on completing a parenting course and individual therapy. This is not punishment. This is protection. Children deserve parents who show up. We're adjourned. The gavel fell. Rachel was crying. Her attorney was gathering papers. Jennifer shook my hand. I felt nothing, no triumph, no relief. Just a quiet certainty that we'd survived the worst of it. If you believe children deserve to see their parent choose dignity over dysfunction, hit like. Sometimes the bravest thing we do is protect them from our own pain. The financial hearing was shorter. Judge Brennan reviewed the forensic accountant's report, the forged signature analysis, the credit cards in my name, the hidden LLC. Mrs. Mitchell is ordered to reimburse David Mitchell the full sum of $127,000 to be paid via wage garnishment over 5 years. She is responsible for her own medical bills from the November incident. Joint accounts remain frozen until assets are fairly divided. Mr. Mitchell is awarded the marital home, given that he is the primary caregiver and children's stability requires continuity. He signed the order, slid it across to the clerk. Petitioner is hereby awarded full reimbursement and primary custody. Mrs. Mitchell, I suggest you spend the next 5 years considering what you owe your children beyond money. We're done here. Rachel walked out without looking at me. Marcus was waiting in the hallway. They left together. I stood there with Jennifer. Is it really over? The legal part, the rest, that's up to you. What do you mean? You won everything, David. House, kids, money, justice. But winning and healing aren't the same thing. Make sure you focus on the right one. She was right. I'd won. But winning felt hollow when what I really wanted was for none of this to have happened. I drove home to my kids. 6 months later, spring came with dogwood blossoms and late sunlight, the kind of weather that makes you believe in second chances. Jake's journal entries had changed. Less pain, more present tense. Last week's, Dad taught me to change a tire today. He said it's the kind of thing men should know, not because of gender, but because being capable makes you confident. I think he's right. Mia's artwork covered the fridge. New pictures, new families. Sometimes Rachel was in them, sometimes not. She drew what felt true, and I never corrected her. Rachel came for supervised visits. Sometimes she showed up, sometimes she didn't. When she did, she tried too hard. Brought gifts instead of presents. The kids tolerated it. They weren't cruel, but they'd learned that love isn't words or presents. It's showing up. Tom's family came for dinner every Sunday. Mom, Barbara, became a fixture. Taught Mia to bake. Took Jake to baseball practice when I had to work late. We became something new. Not the family I'd planned, the family we built, found family, the kind you choose because they choose you back. Tonight was special. Jake had been practicing for weeks, riding his bike with training wheels. He'd asked if we could take them off. Are you sure, buddy? There's no rush. I'm ready. I want to do it. We stood in the driveway. His bike, blue with silver stripes, looked bigger without the extra wheels. I held the seat while he climbed on. Okay, I'm going to hold on until you're steady. When you feel balanced, tell me. He pedaled, wobbled, found his center. I think I got it. You sure? Yeah. I let go. He rode forward, 10 feet, 20, didn't fall, turned around, grinning like he'd discovered flight. Dad, I'm doing it. Yeah, buddy, you are. Mia was recording on her iPad, jumping up and down. Barbara was clapping from the porch. Tom's kids were cheering from the lawn where we'd set up the barbecue. Jake circled back, stopped in front of me. Did you see? I saw. I'm proud of you. Mom said she'd be here for this, when I learned. His face wasn't sad, just factual. He'd learned to hold space for disappointment without letting it define him. She's not, but we are, and sometimes that's enough. He nodded. It is enough. Can I show Uncle Tom? Go. He rode toward the backyard. I stood in the driveway, felt the evening sun warm on my face. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. Saw on your mom's Facebook that Jake learned to ride his bike. Wish I could have been there. Tell him I'm proud. I didn't respond. She could tell him herself at the next visitation, if she showed up. Inside, Mia called me. Daddy, come see. I found her in her room. She'd been organizing. On her desk was a frame I hadn't seen before. Inside, her original birthday card, the one with 4 stick figures. Our family forever. Why'd you frame this? Mrs. Patterson, my counselor, she said sometimes we keep old things not because we want them back, but because they show us who we've become. I wanted to remember. Remember what? That we're still a family. Just different. Maybe better. Because we're honest now. She picked up a newer drawing. 5 people, not 4. Me, her, Jake, Barbara, Tom's family in the background. This is my real family, the one that stays. I hung it on her wall next to the old one. Past and present, both true. We went outside. Everyone was there. The people who'd shown up, who'd stayed, who'd proven that family isn't always biology. Sometimes it's choice. Sometimes it's built from wreckage and becomes something stronger. After dinner, after the kids were playing in the yard, I found Jake's hospital wristband in my desk drawer, the one I'd kept from his surgery, the one I'd cried over in my car. I called him over. I found something. I wanted to ask you about it. He looked at the wristband, touched the faded ink. From when I had my appendix out. Yeah, I've been keeping it, but I'm not sure if I should anymore. What do you think? Keep it or let it go? He was quiet, thinking, keep it. Why? So I remember you were there when it mattered. Mom wasn't, but you were. That's the part that counts. He handed it back. It's not about the pain, Dad. It's about who showed up when it hurt. 10 years old and wiser than most adults. I put it in a memory box with Mia's card and Jake's journal entries, and the court order that gave us back our dignity, not to dwell on what broke, to remember what we'd survived. That night I tucked Mia in. She'd been quiet at dinner. What are you thinking about, baby? My birthday, the one Mom missed. What about it? Can we have a do-over, a redo birthday, with everyone who actually came? Absolutely. When? This weekend? Done. Saturday came with sunshine. We decorated the backyard, hung streamers, made a homemade cake, Mia's favorite, chocolate with raspberry filling, invited the people who mattered, 20 kids, family, friends, the community we'd built. When it was time for cake, Mia stood at the head of the table. 8 candles lit, 1 for each year, 1 for the year that taught her what love really means. Make a wish, Mia! She closed her eyes, took a breath, blew out all 8 candles in one try. Everyone cheered. I leaned close. What did you wish for? She smiled. I wished for us to always be honest with each other, even when it's hard. My throat tightened. That's a good wish. I think it already came true. We're already honest. So maybe it'll stay true forever. Forever. Later, after everyone left, I found Jake in his room, writing in his journal. Can I read it? He handed it over. Sure. Today's entry. Dad taught me that you can't unsee what's real, but you get to decide what you build with the truth. We built something good, something honest, something that doesn't break. I read it twice, handed it back. You know what I'm proudest of? Not that we survived this, that you learned from it. You and Mia, you know now what real love looks like. The kind that shows up, that keeps promises, that chooses you every single day. Did you learn that too? Yeah, buddy, I did. He smiled. Good. Because we need you to keep knowing it. Deal. That night I sat on the porch, looking at the yard where we'd celebrated, the bikes in the driveway, the garden we'd planted together, the home we'd rebuilt from what Rachel had tried to destroy. My phone buzzed. Text from Tom. Proud of you, man. You did the hard thing. You chose them. They'll remember that forever. I texted back. We all chose each other. That's what makes it real. Inside, I could hear the kids laughing about something, some video they were watching, the sound of siblings who still liked each other, who felt safe enough to be silly. I thought about the man I'd been 6 months ago, standing in a hospital parking lot, holding evidence of betrayal, wondering how to survive. I'd survived by doing the opposite of what felt natural, not by fighting emotion with emotion, by staying quiet, watching, documenting, letting the truth speak louder than anger ever could, and by building something new with the pieces that remained. You can't unsee what broke, but you can choose what you build next. We'd chosen honesty, presence, promises kept, family earned, not assumed, and that was worth more than any marriage certificate, more than any court order, more than winning. It was worth everything. If you found your chosen family after betrayal, the people who showed up when biology walked away, share your story below. Sometimes the family we build is stronger than the one that broke. Comment rebuilt if this resonated with you. A year later, I was teaching Jake something new, how to throw a curveball. We were in the backyard, evening light making everything golden. The trick is in the grip, not the arm. See? He mimicked my hand position, tried, the ball wobbled. It's okay, takes practice. I didn't get it right until I was 12. When did you learn? My dad taught me, your grandfather, the summer before middle school. I wish I'd known him better. Me too. But you know what? I'm teaching you the same way he taught me. So in a way, he's still here, teaching you through me. Jake looked at his hand, at the baseball. Will you teach my kids someday? The way Grandpa taught you and you taught me? If I'm lucky enough to meet them, yeah. That's how it works. Good things get passed down. He threw again. This time the ball curved, just slightly, but enough. I did it. You did. See? You just needed to trust the grip. We threw until the lightning bugs came out, until Barbara called us in for dinner, until Mia ran out to drag us inside because we were missing everything. Inside, the table was set. Pasta night, everyone's favorite. We sat down together, all of us, the family we'd become. Before we ate, Jake said, "Can I say something?" Always. I just wanted to say thank you for not giving up, for choosing us, for showing us what a parent is supposed to be. I know it was hard, but you did it anyway, and that matters. Mia added, "Yeah, you're the best dad in the world. Even when things were broken, you weren't. You stayed whole for us." I looked at them, my kids, brave and honest and whole, because we'd chosen healing over bitterness. You know what I learned? We don't get to choose what breaks, but we get to choose what we build after. And you two, you helped me build something better than what we had before. So thank you for being exactly who you are. We ate dinner, laughed about Jake's baseball practice, Mia's upcoming school play, normal things, beautiful things, the kind of things that only feel precious after you've almost lost them. Later, tucking Mia in, she asked, "Do you think Mom's happy?" "I hope so." "Do you miss her?" "I miss who I thought she was, but I don't miss the lies, and I don't miss the wondering." "Me neither. Is that okay?" "It's okay to feel whatever you feel, baby. There's no wrong way to heal from hurt." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Daddy. Thank you for not being like her." "I love you too, always." In the hallway, I passed the framed pictures, old and new, before and after, both versions of our family visible, both true in their own way. I stopped at Mia's original birthday card, the one that started everything. 4 stick figures under a sun with eyelashes. Next to it, her newest drawing, 5 figures. Different constellation, same love. The caption she'd written at the bottom, "Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up and doesn't leave." 8 years old, already wiser than most. I went downstairs, found Jake's journal on the coffee table. He'd left it open. Today's entry. "Dad says some things you can't unsee, but those are the things that show you who you really are and who deserves to stand beside you. I used to be sad about Mom leaving. Now I'm just grateful for everyone who stayed. We didn't lose a family. We found our real one." I closed the journal, set it back carefully. Outside, the bikes were still in the driveway, training wheels long gone, both kids riding on their own now. I thought about the man who'd held his daughter's purple crayon card and heard the worst news of his life, who'd chosen documentation over rage, evidence over emotion, his children over everything. That man had been terrified, broken, lost. This man, the one standing in a house full of laughter and safety and truth, he was whole. Not because the pain had disappeared, because he'd learned what to do with it. He'd built something new, something honest, something that didn't break. And in the building, he'd found what mattered most, not the family he'd lost. The family he'd been blessed enough to keep and strong enough to choose every single day after. Some things you can't unsee, but those are the things that show you who you really are and who deserves to stand beside you. We don't erase the past. We just make sure it doesn't write our future. And our future, it's filled with bike rides and birthday cake and promises kept. It's filled with people who stay. And that's everything.